Broadcasting live, this is the Handicappers Report, brought to you by the Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue, Albany, and CapitalOTBBet.com, the premier online wagering site in New York State. CapitalOTBBet.com. Sign up today.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Handicappers Report alongside Seth and Merrow. I am Anthony Mormino. I always love the opening, the fact that Mick put saddlecloth number 21, which has probably been used once in 150 years of racing in the United States.
But not on the T-shirt.
That's, to me, by now I can probably figure it out. Did it make it infinitely valuable or useless? I don't know how I feel about that. The quirk in me says infinitely valuable because you're walking around and no winner on this shirt, baby. You know, they went through all this trouble with, if I remember correctly, they're colorful with the silks and owner, trainer, jockeys on it. So there's a lot of work that goes into it. You know, it's not like they just run down 10 names and then 10 names out the door you go. And you got nothing on the shirt. You got nothing. Anybody matters. Pick the winner. That would be somebody in a black Sharpie above it on the back should say, pick the winner. Good luck there. But Derby week coming up. Belmont on Thursday. So
should remind people Wednesday night, you and I will be in here with the annual Capital OTB Kentucky Derby Seminar. We'll be joined by Kevin Cox, the Brooklyn Cowboy.
There you go.
You can tune it in right here on the network Wednesday night, 7 p.m. You can also catch it on the Capital OTB YouTube channel, some of the other OTB social media platforms. So, again, we'll have a comprehensive look at the Derby this coming Wednesday at 7 o'clock.
I am atypical with the Derby thing. Like, to me, it's going to get here. I don't have to look at it 7 weeks, 11 weeks out. I typically do handicap it just like every other race in America. Like when the PPs come out, I'll start to look at it because I think post position matters. One thing I've been hearing, is the lack of speed in the race.
Yeah.
Well, what people have been talking about. And I think what we've seen with that is whatever the old days were, when it used to be graded stakes earnings and you had a 2-year-old that won the Sanford Stakes, would make their way as a sprinter to the Derby, and you'd have, some speed in there. But the way it is now, really, it's really the two races as, your two preps. Something like the Fountain of Youth and the Florida Derby will get you enough points. I do like to find what the floor is for the points to get in. I think a couple of weeks ago you mentioned to me you thought it would be higher because I think I said 27 and teasingly, and you said you thought it was going to be a little higher this year, maybe the 40s or the 50s.
There was also a little bit of controversy in that they went further down with the points this year.
Yes,
which left some people on the outside looking in by running second or third. They weren't getting the same kind of points that they had gotten in previous years, so there was a little bit of controversy.
Right, well, because it used to seem as if you ran second, the Fountain of Youth, you had enough points to get in. Yeah. And, as you say from time to time, I think they're trying to reverse engineering where they're like, that's not the idea they want.
Skinner is number 19.
Yeah,
Continuar is an invite from Japan, a win and you're in over there. Skinner has 45.
Seems like, so 45, which to me sounds maybe an all-time topper.
I would think that.
I mean, it's been funny some years. It's just a low number, etc. But 45 isn't. I mean, you haven't accomplished.
To me, the one that's too bad sitting on the outside currently. I'm looking at the Kentucky Derby website.
Okay.
And currently on the outside, looking in 23 with 40 points. Mandarin Hero, who I thought ran great, runs second in the Santa Anita Derby, but.
It's shocking that used to be a 50-point placing, right? Because it was 100, 150,
yeah.
he would have gotten the 50, and that's part of the recalibration, right? You were talking about where they're trying to, clearly the winners are getting in, but they're trying to make it like where it used to be your second place guaranteed you a spot, but now they're trying to say you need a little bit more than a second place finish. So that'll all shake out. We'll have, I think Dan was saying 2 o'clock on Monday. Oaks Derby draw, so obviously that'll all be out there and see if somebody gets post position 1. And I've said it for years. You can't run a straight line. Of all the things they've done at Churchill Downs, and I have to tell you, I actually can't wait to see this first turn pavilion building. But why they didn't build out the top of the stretch over some and bring the starting gate out so that the guy in post position 1 has to follow somebody to not run into the rail. I always wondered
Did that
why.
get mitigated? Don't they now have a 20?
They have that gate,
And
so he can run a straight line. He can run a straight line. You might be right.
I thought when they put that gate in, that changed.
I think you're right. I think I misspoke. I think the starting gate did solve that. So scratch that from my list. So obviously an exciting
it's
time.
still, you don't want it. It's still to have 19 horses outside of you that want the rail in some fashion or another. It's still not a great.
I know Ferdinand got it done, but I said, you go back and watch Looking at Lucky. And I'm telling you, I think if Looking at Lucky, I think Go-Go was on him that day. Boy, I think if Looking at Lucky had like position 4 or 5, he's winning that day because he was incredible. I think he ran maybe 6, but if you watch it, it's like, that's about as well as you can do from the 1 hole. So post position draw, 48 hours plus 5, so 53 hours. So I've always said this, the part that I do absolutely love about the Derby, it's the greatest betting race of the year because of the entries.
Yeah,
multiple races.
Somebody was asking me the other day, what do you think so-and-so is going to go off of that? And I always say, I am horrible at the Derby because it's just so different. The odds with the 20-horse field.
Mattress Mac.
You get it in your head. You played your whole life into 8, 10, 12-horse fields, and I can kind of, look in the crystal ball and make predictions there. But it really changes up with the 20-horse field.
It's the things that I have remarked, and there are charts, obviously, the Derby's going back, 60, 70 years, is there's hardly 80 to 1 shots anymore. Hardly any 135 to 1 shots. I think one year there was like 5 horses at 35 to 1 was the biggest price on the board. And who Mattress Mac will bet you're doomed.
Yeah.
If he falls on your horse, you're just not getting the right price. And everybody else wins by getting a better price because of that. But
if his horse wins, somebody gets a free mat. Or some people down in Texas get free betting.
Yeah, so there is an upside to that. It won't affect us. But on a sidebar, how about your Jets?
Oh, I didn't.
What kind of reaction was that? You got Aaron Rodgers for 2 years. You got a shot for the first time legitimately in 50 years.
What was the article I was reading? They've done this. They've had quarterbacks at the end of their careers in the past, and it hasn't helped.
Like who at this level?
Who was
They got rid of Joe Namath at this level. My Rams took him.
They had
Brett Favre. He gave you 1 year.
Brett Favre.
They were going along very well until he got hurt. Like they were.
Yeah, okay.
I think they were like 9-3 or something. They were pretty darn good. But my other thought is, I don't think any of us think he's older. Yes, but no one looks at him and his play like he's still great. I mean, it's the new athlete, 38 years of age. You're more like the old days being, 31 or something. But I think you're getting 2 solid years out of him at top flight play.
I'm a wait. I've just been.
You are a wet blanket.
Just being too long.
I understand, and there are a lot of you guys, but Jesus, let me tell you, the way that NFL is set up, you got to have a quarterback, and you have one. A lot of the other parts.
I thought we had one already, but he did not quite pan out.
Maybe it's a light of fire under him. So
let me ask you, speaking of that,
yes.
Are you a draft watcher?
No.
Me. Draft doesn't interest me at all.
When I did the radio show for 5 years, my producer actually was like the only other one that, as NFL zealots, I tell people, I go, no. They look at me, they're like, you fly 3,000 miles to see a football game. I go, yeah, the draft is a parade. I do not watch parades. I said, and by the way, I watch probably more college football than all these people. I'm like, it's not that big a deal. And by the way, they never do this is, I think 12 hours before the draft, ESPN should take the 12 previous years and have somebody go edit. Just the first round picks would be enough entertainment. And all the things that they said in real time that didn't come close to matriculating. That to me is like,
true.
so that's why don't do it. Don't do it. It's like, it's well, how do you think they did? I'll tell you in 5 years.
Yeah.
I'm sure like Andy Beyer and, his idea of the jackpot, I won't be invited back, but I'd be like, I don't know. Because these are people whose job it is full time and they're wrong 50% of the time. And that's their whole job. So, but no, not one iota. And even when my Rams had first, I don't care. I'm like, I've said this before. I don't watch pregame. I don't watch postgame. To me, it's all about the event. The only pregame or postgame I'll watch, because for me, I never watched Seinfeld, but this show is better than Seinfeld, which is the NBA guys. I can watch Shaq, Kenny Smith, and Charles Barkley on a loop all day long. So I watch them, or I tape their late night ones because I find it to be the best television I've ever seen because they crack me up.
Yeah.
But, the rest of it, no. But listen, they are, I think if you and I went back to school and we went into the marketing wing, the NFL would be there. Football season ends in February now. They get free agents.
Two nights of prime time?
Yeah. Free agency is March, so they don't fall off the radar. The draft is April. They get 2 primetime nights, and it's not quite as important to most people. What is important to me is the schedule release. As crazy as other people go for the draft, but that's because I have to get on a plane. I said before I had to get on a plane, I didn't care what the schedule was, but that's it. So spring is springing. It's amazing in my mind's eye that Oaklawn still runs. It's a wonderful thing.
Tampa.
He has Oaklawn
for just another week.
Yeah, but listen, usually they're all wrapped up in a bundle now and we go on, but we're wrapping up the Big A. Remember, they turned to Belmont. Now, if I'm right about this, right? Belmont is just a spring-summer meet, right? They're going to run this spring-summer meet, but we're going to be Belmont at Aqueduct in the fall. So, by the way, John Griffin made the regular sports pages the other day. Phil Mushnick, who to me is a curmudgeon, but I've loved reading his stuff, gave him a 2 thumbs up. Chris.
Yeah.
Gave him 2 thumbs up.
I didn't see that, and I usually read Mushnick.
Yeah, he gave him 2 thumbs up, and I think he called it right. I think when he was in town a year ago during the winter, I was like, I thought he was very sharp. I think he has a very bright future.
Doing well down at Oaklawn too.
Yes,
I like his call.
I've said it before. I mean, I love Jim Byers because he was at Hollywood Park when Hollywood Park had probably their 10 best years, and his voice was so great. I love coming in. I came in yesterday from picking up young Anthony. I have your show on, and I hear his voice, and for a brief moment, I feel 24 years old.
He's done a good job filling in down there.
Yeah.
Chris Griffin, last couple of days at Aqueduct, and he'll go to Monmouth. Normally, Miramati would be there. Miramati will be at Saratoga. John Embryo back in the booth for this Belmont meet that's coming up. So,
and I think for Chris, I'm not pushing. I'm going to be 60 in July. John Embryo is clearly older than me. So I don't know how many of the Belmonts he's really looking at, but so Chris is. I think he's very good. I think he's outstanding.
And just getting back to Mushnick for a minute, you say I don't know whether I'd label him curmudgeon. The one thing he harps on and has for over the years that I kind of totally disagree with
is
he doesn't like a local commentator who's kind of a homer and roots for the home team. Like the national guys, I would totally agree. But to me, if you're broadcasting New York games on a New York radio station, you're supposed to be a homer, kind of. Yeah, I think you got to throw in because that's who your audience is. So that I don't agree with. On a national scale, totally, you can't. You have to play it down the line.
We do not agree. I hate listening to the first favorite team I ever had in sports were the Yankees. I cannot stand listening to their television or radio people because they talk to you like you're in 4th grade. I don't need the angle. Brian Nadeau and I we're on the same page, and he likes Gary Cohen because, and Gary Cohen is the biggest Mets fan there's ever been, but he is a pro right down the line. And I said to Brian, I agree that and I like the Mets 3 better than anybody in baseball. But I understand from a business standpoint why they do it. I do not enjoy. I can't listen to the Yankees on radio. I'm like, I'm a grown man. I don't need the pom poms. I just call it down the line. So that's
see, I don't listen to a lot of baseball, and that's probably more of what radio. I guess maybe basketball has some radio components too.
Yes.
Yeah. Like I say, to me, that doesn't.
Because I find baseball to be the best one on radio.
Oh, absolutely.
And I have the worst pair I could ever have. Can't stand it.
All right, let's jump in. I'll take a look at
Big
Oaklawn
A.
a little bit later on because Churchill is a night card. We'll take Churchill tonight, so keep that in mind. But they open up. Speaking of which, top of the hour, Racing Across America, Joe Christofek will be on, the paddock commentator at Churchill, so we'll kind of preview the meet, get some of his Derby thoughts, and then Jeremy Plonk from Countdown to the Crown.
One quick final thing. So we went to Nashville. So 8 weeks ago, I'm going to the emergency room. She ran like a beast. But what I found was it's about 35 minutes due south of Kentucky Downs.
Oh, yeah, because people say they fly into Nashville.
It's like
also
so
Nashville is
tremendous.
They have the big steeplechase race there too.
That I didn't know. I wish I'd known it just to go see the facility. But congratulations to my wife, who I think finished 29th out of over 2,000. She's a beast. From the emergency room to the top 30. But a great town. So I have young Anthony has 2 more years of high school, but I could definitely see Denise and I going down after Saratoga to Nashville to revisit. We're going to revisit, but I like to kill 2 birds with one stone. I think I got to go to Kentucky Downs. Our director was telling me they now have a $2 million race. I don't have the specifics.
Oh, they do. They just had a couple days, within the last week, they announced.
Tremendous.
Yeah. And it's the Iroquois.
What?
Percy Warner Park in Nashville, Tennessee. Yeah, so I said.
Now I'd be interested to know what part of town, because I went in and around it. Went to Vanderbilt and everything. I'd be interested where it's located. What's it called?
Percy Warner Park.
All right. Well, we'll do Nashville. Aqueduct, and I will find Percy.
All right, Aqueduct's opener today, state-bred maiden special, 6 furlongs to trip. Our friend Roddy Valente has Miss Stones in here. Is she the morning line favorite? No, Photon's the morning line favorite. But Roddy was in here, might have been a week ago today. He was out. Out in the front half, rooting along as he had a first-time starter win down in New York. So that was fun, and congratulations to Roddy there.
I hope he didn't use them all up because he's my top pick.
Very good.
When we get to it. So 613 in the opener. Actually, I know both sides of the ownership committee. They have a plethora of horses together, the Bolinskis and the Valencia. I know Jerry and Darlene, and obviously I've said it many times before, truth in advertising. You know, I obviously root for Roddy and Mary. They were at our wedding, love them to death. But I think this is, I had looked at some of the other horses, and you see my under picks are veterans, and you have the firsters in the 2, the 4, the 5, and the 6. And David Aragona has 2 of the firsters as 2 of the top 3 morning line favorites, if you will. And I think that's a resultant of the veterans in the group. So Miss Stones, the offspring of Bustin' Stones, is my top pick. Bruce Levine, Ben Roddy's trainer, one of them for probably 30 years, sends out this owner. What I do like with the first-time starter here is he gets the outside post. And yes, if you watch the head-on, which I always strongly reserve, I might take the right-hand turn, which isn't good. But if you don't take the right-hand turn and you're starting your debut, you're thinking there should be less traffic situations. And with a firster, I think that's a good thing. In the afternoon, there's going to be a crowd, etc. So Miss Stones, to me, getting past the 5, which isn't on my list. Mark Henning has the 4. There are 2 of the other firsters. We know Mark's work. He's just not a first-time starter guy. I mean, and David Duggan has the 2. So to me, I think David Aragona has nailed this, that Miss Stones would be the lowest price of the firsters, and she is my top pick. For second, I went to Danny Gargan's number 1, Bon Adu. Awful in the debut in the slop. Came back at just about the same price. Was runner-up. Now, that race was in early February. Now comes back for the second career start. And for third, 2-1. Not in your heart, because that is if this is the Saratoga Photon, this horse is going to be tough to beat, but I'll take my chances making the seasonal debut this late in the year. 6-1-3 in the Big A's opener.
Stakes action in the second race, and you pull the main track onlys out, and it's a field of 7 anticipated on the grass. Memories of Silver, $100,000, 1 mile.
And
on
there
the turf.
it is, the steeplechase infield at Percy Warner Park, the Iroquois steeplechase.
I just looked up. You missed it by a couple weeks. It comes up on May 13th.
But now I'm trying to find at what part of. Oh, okay. I was not okay. West southwest. I was nowhere. It's close. Obviously easy drive, but I wasn't close to it. It's way out of town. My guess it'd be like somebody who was in Albany and they tell you it's in Saratoga. You were not close to it. You had to drive.
The address is Nashville, though.
No way.
Yeah, the address here says 2500 Old Hickory Boulevard, Nashville.
Okay, well, I'm going to do this. I'm going to put in how far it is. It is 15 miles away from downtown Nashville. That is a big proper. My guess is that's a business address, that it's an office, and they send the stuff there. But there's no way that's in Nashville proper. It's 22 minutes away on the highway, so it can't be. This is definitely the steeplechase.
It says event address on race day.
Is what?
So I would assume that's the track. I would assume.
This is taking over the show, but no way. This is the most I've ever given steeplechase. Boy, it does say Percy Warner Park in Nashville, Tennessee. All right.
It's just a large circumference metropolitan
like the largest
area.
one I've ever seen in my life. Okay. Naira's done this the last couple of times. They did it with the Dangerous Hour the other day, where they've taken the stakes race and done what I call the California thing. California did it because they didn't want him to pick 6. They had short fields. The days of Bayacoa and Paseana when they'd be a short price. I haven't figured out Naira's thing, because the early pick 5 is the biggest bet. So they've moved it into that, right? That's kind of odd. I am 6-2-5 in this mile race on the turf. And quick note here, boy, 8, 9, and 10 are MTOs. I thought they're supposed to be falling over themselves to run in turf races. I mean, it's $100,000. I know that might be, chump change at Kentucky Downs, but Juniper's Moon gets my top pick, Anthony Dutcher. I think I was surprised, and David could be right. It will be hurtful for us. 4-1 on the out-of-towner coming in against, big names, the Clement and Chad Brown. I was seeing a little higher now. At nearly 30-1, hit the board in the most recent effort. That's the Florida Oaks. Remember, Florida Oaks is a turf race on the undercard of the Tampa Bay Derby. So that was the second start of the year. First start against winners, an offspring of Galileo. That's all me. Number 4, Juniper's Moon. For second, number 2, Lady Beth. Second-time starter for Chad Brown. Ran a brilliant race, 2-turn debut. Hard to do for anybody, including the Chad Browns and the Christophe Clement. Now, that was on synthetic for this offspring of hard spun. So I'm not worried at all. And for third, number 5, Queen Picasso, who's an offspring of, this is one of the few, Seth, that I was a little bit ahead of the curve with, and that is Kingman, who was a brilliant middle distance turfer in Europe and has done well enough siring those type of runners. This is a mile. This is the second career start. One on debut at better than 7-1. I think it's an intriguing race. It'll probably only be a field of 7 on the turf. 6-2-5.
Race number 3 at Aqueduct this afternoon. $30,000 conditional claimers going 3/4 of a mile on the turf.
7-6-10. Jet Set Juliet gets my top pick. And I will say that as I looked at this race over and over again, I didn't want it just seemed to me that there is going to be a pace situation in this race. And what I was trying to figure out is I wanted the horse that I thought could do the most damage positively on the turn time or the second quarter in this race, hoping that they could grab this race by the throat latch, having a quicker turn of foot. And Jet Set Juliet was the horse now in the Gustavo Rodriguez barn at a price that I thought with Kendrick, I'm on the outside. I think I'm going to sit a very attractive trip in here, looking at almost a $14 horse, which, by the way, we need as we are slipping away from the ROI after 2 weeks. I think I'm about negative $14, so it's getting tight. Misspelled Moon, misspelling 2 words. Obviously, the Jockey Club let that go. You want to know something? I say that letting go because many moons ago, there was a horse named Fiery Ensign, who I think won the Young America. This is like 87, went to the Breeders' Cup, and Fiery was misspelled. And the Jockey Club did change it. My point being, I know things change over 35 years, but they went in and said, no, you got to change it. You got to spell it the right way. And so obviously they let this one go purposely. So I'm like, did the people call up and say, we're doing it on purpose? But Misspelled Moon. And there's been very few horses whose names have ever been changed after they've run. Can you think of the most famous one?
Sofa?
No.
That I can't divulge any more than that. The horse never ran, but once they realized what it would sound like when an announcer said it fast, they decided.
I got it. Quick power nap for third. But the most famous one is Dubai Millennium. It was not his first name. Then they realized how good he was, and they were like, boom. The more famous one around here was there was this good 2-year-old up in Canada about the late 80s, and I think his name was Fozzie Bear, and I think that was a Muppets thing. They made him change it.
Oh, well.
They didn't change it.
Fourth race this afternoon at Aqueduct State Bred Made Specials, going 6. I have free will. I can pick whomever I like. But boy, I just, I didn't want to, you can only hit your head with 2x4 often enough. Angelique is an offspring of Army Mule, first-time starter, Todd Pletcher, $300,000 sale purchase of Saratoga 2 summers ago. It's everything I probably wouldn't want, 9-5 on debut with IRAD Windstar. I just was like, maybe they're down the road. I know Army Mule is off to a fast start. I don't keep the data as closely as Seth does, but I know Army Mule has off to a fast start. Foxy Cara for second. Nothing on debut, a little late run. And for third, Shaman Princess for Rudy, making the 4th career start. Added blinkers last time, just got beat a nose, 6-2-7. Moving on to race number 5 this afternoon. We're looking at plain vanilla claimers going 8.5 on the grass.
4-5-1 original, my top pick for John Terranova. Coming up from turf racing in Tampa. Hopefully that will be an advantage at this level. Won the 3L condition most recently at odds on. That was February 5th. For second, 3-5 on the board. Shadow Sphinx. Mike Maker coming up to New York, coming out of the Canadian turf where it was overmatched at nearly 25-1. And for third, number 1, Healing, down inside this long shot, I think can buy the time, sit a comfortable trip, and maybe get a small piece. 4-5-1.
All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll complete our look at Aqueduct a little bit later on. I will shift down to Arkansas and Oaklawn Park. Stay tuned. Yeah, that was... It's that time of year.
Forte wins.
Angel of Empire wins the Arkansas Derby and wins it clear.
Practical Move has won the Run Happy Santa Anita Derby.
Join us on Wednesday, May 3rd at 7 p.m. for the annual Capital OTB Kentucky Derby Seminar. Streaming live on the Capital OTB YouTube channel and other social platforms. Join Seth Merrow, Anthony Mormino, and the Brooklyn Cowboy Kevin Cox for a comprehensive look at this year's Kentucky Derby.
Come on.
I want sales reports on my desk by Monday.
Whoops. My bad.
Love racing? RTN brings you every live simulcast on your home television, plus live video streaming and race replays on your PC and mobile devices. To order, visit rtn.tv. RTN, a breed apart.
Capital OTB is now streaming live on Roku. The RTN Racing channel on Roku lets you watch OTB TV live through your Roku device or your Amazon Fire Stick, rather than being limited to computers and mobile devices, which means you can now watch OTB live wherever you are. Simply open Roku, scroll to find the RTN channel, then click on OTB TV. OTB TV on Roku. Try it now.
Welcome back to the Handicappers Report on this Saturday morning. Seth and Anthony Mormino. We will get back to Aqueduct with race number 6 on Saturday afternoon. Starter allowance, 3/4 of a mile on the turf.
I am 6'7", Sugar Gray Leonard. Going back to the 80s, well, the 70s and the 80s, makes the seasonal debut, the 10th career start. At this level, this seems to be the right level. Was runner-up at Saratoga, hasn't started since a couple days before Thanksgiving. The offspring of McLean's music was sharp to start the career, so I'm going to make the leap forward. That will be sharp to start the season. For second, King James. Chad Summers adds blinkers to this runner, gets to the turf for the first time, did win a claiming race at Belmont going 7/8. And for third, My Sea Cottage, Mark Cassie's runner, Irad Ortiz on board, comes up since running on St. Patrick's Day at Gulfstream Park, 8-5, 6-7-9.
Roddy back in with another offspring of Bustin' Stones. Bustin' up is hard to do. 15-1 off a couple of wins out of town.
Yeah, that's
7th race at Aqueduct this afternoon. Conditional claimers going the 1-turn mile.
5-9, and this race was probably the most perplexing for me because I don't trust some of the shorter price horses going the mile. This mile final running time might be 1:40. I still don't trust them. And I am trying to get ahead on the ROI, and this horse is 20-1. But I was pushed into a corner where, boy, I'll tell you, if one of the top choices in the betting wins this, I mean, good luck. I just thought this was, and this is, about the softest condition in New York. So it all fell in place to me. So Paul Burrows sends out the 5 for me. Jose Vargas gets the mount today. Jackie Davis has been aboard the consecutive 4th place finishes. Going the mile, I just thought after the opening quarter mile, if my guy's close, I think I trust him the most at a big price. How much you trust a 20-1 shot? For second from the rail, Mo Rewards, number 2, making the second start since February, comes off of a turf race, and that's an old school type of thing to get the foundation into him, and nothing can stop the Linda Rice train. And for third, D Superstar, 5-9 in the 7th.
Your 9-horse worth mentioning, Irad Ortiz back in town after having wrapped up the Keeneland meet.
Can only imagine what the beating on price we're going to be taking with this gentleman.
8th race this afternoon, optional claimer, non-winners to 2 other than the condition. 1-turn mile is the trip.
Did I ever tell you what? One of the things that I stepped out many years ago, when they were both young, was, and they were riding in the winter here, I said, if you make 2 charts, one of them is the number of days they combine for multiple wins or get shut out, I guarantee you the multiple wins trounces the shutout. They went on to good things. 8-2-5, Tonal Impact, Linda Rice's runner. Very sharp losing effort most recently, coming off of, before that was a victory going 2 turns, now shortens up to the 1 turn with Jose on board for second. 4-5 on the morning line. I mean, he's the name horse in here. Chad Brown sends out Zandon, making the first start of the year. First start since the Cigar Mile. We'll see what the 4-year-old campaign is like. Remember, this horse hasn't won since the Bluegrass. So, there you go. King and number 5 for third. 8-2-5. I
put Zandon on top, but I have written in the margin, this
does he
seems
have to win?
A strange spot for the comeback to me. I mean, he fits the condition.
Well, definitely.
So
but
you
it
get
seems
some
like
fitness, but
it seems like practice. At 4
and
to 5,
that's got to be what the game plan
Yes.
is. But it seems like if
I
you
don't
really
want
feel like
practice at odds on.
we're there with Zandon for the
I mean,
the
you think
4-year-old
Chad has
season.
him tightened up all the way for this?
Yeah, it's
an allowance.
It's a funny spot.
I mean, he might be trying to get some confidence. As I said, the horse hasn't won since the Bluegrass.
The 9th and final today at Aqueduct. Maiden Claimers going 7.
8-5-3 for me, folks. New York Panther is my top for Brittany Russell, who I remember, selecting her probably maybe the COVID summer at Saratoga, and she has certainly figured out Naira, which is very rare for outsiders.
Yes.
Usually they maintain their percentages at their home base.
Part of it is who she teams up with. I mean, it helps to have Michael Dubb in your corner.
Yes, but I'm thinking, as you like to say, reverse engineering. He found her.
Yeah.
I mean, there's probably a lot of people knocking on Michael Dubb's door.
Yeah.
And he decided for her she could train his horses. Obviously, very few trainers would ever turn that opportunity down. So you're right, but I think the water runs the other way. This is first time in for a tag for a barn that's been going very well. For second, Grand again comes off back-to-back third place finishes. And for third, Dad's Good Runner. So 8-5-3 in the finale.
All right, that wraps up Aqueduct. We will take a break and again shift our attention to Oaklawn. Stay tuned.
Birdstone is an outside front. They're coming down to the finish. Can Smarty Jones hold on? Here comes Birdstone. Birdstone surges past. Birdstone wins the Belmont Stakes. In front, but here comes High Chaparral. High Chaparral, the defending champ, to take it to Bob. These two arch rivals head to head with Joe Hart bearing down on them. It's going to be a 3-horse photo finish to the turn. Here's the wire. Photo finish.
What if there was a way to become a better horse player, to have a better knowledge of the game, to be more successful? What if there were a way to take what you've learned, what you know, and make better decisions, better choices? In horse racing, knowledge is a powerful tool. Race results and replays, past performances and live streaming, wagering from all your digital devices. Capital OTB. Become a better horse player.
Capital OTB is now streaming live on Roku. The RTN Racing channel on Roku lets you watch OTB TV live through your Roku device or your Amazon Fire Stick, rather than being limited to computers and mobile devices, which means you can now watch OTB live wherever you are. Simply open Roku, scroll to find the RTN channel, then click on OTB TV. OTB TV on Roku. Try it now.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Turning our attention to Oaklawn Park. The opener, 3-year-old fillies, maiden special weights, 1 mile and a 16.
2, 3, 7, and 4 for me. I put Dixie Tap on top. Our friends at West Point Thoroughbreds paid a lot of money for this horse, just under $1 million right up the road. Facing Tipton Saratoga sale back in 2021. The debut certainly didn't live up to that, but it's a second-time starter from Steve Asmussen. His horses often do improve in the second start. This horse will clearly have to, but that means I think we'll get a little bit of value. And I'll also note, Asmussen having a decent little meet down at Oaklawn, but it seems to have stepped up over the past week and a half, couple weeks. So as the meet ends, I think
famous Mormino bar graph.
I think his bar graph has gone up for about the last week and a half or so down there. So I'll tilt for this one. And again, shop for a little bit of value. Flirting Girl in the second spot, a daughter of Gun Runner. Again, hasn't quite lived up to that in the first couple of starts of the career, but it's another Asmussen runner. This one, the last start was the second start, but it was off a layoff. So we can look at this as the second start back this season and maybe expect some improvement there. And again, I think we'll find a little bit of value on this one. And then Magic Bubbles in the third spot. The race 2 back, the number was pretty good and has a clear edge on this bunch. And because of that, probably the deserved favorite. Now, last time the number went backwards, but the finishing position improved. So I think it's a horse that's in good form. And as I say, off the last couple, probably is the one to beat. In the opener at Oaklawn, 2, 3, 7, and 4.
On to the second, we have 3-year-olds and up, maiden special weights, racing 6.
5, 8, 3, and 4. I'll put the number 5 Bourbon on Fire on top. Christian Torres having a very good meet, riding down there. He jumps on board this one off a decent little try last time. Now, it was against maiden claimers, but I'm looking at the rest of this field and I'm thinking this horse should fit in the current form. And again, because of the class move, we're looking at 4-1 on the morning line. I think we'll get a little bit of value. That kind of a thing might hold up. Kayandi, the number 8 in the second spot, going out off a couple of tries back in February that, again, number-wise were okay. One of those was for a maiden claimer, and one was for maiden special. The numbers were okay. The maiden claimer was a much better race, though, finishing position. So, again, I'm looking the class of this particular field and thinking as a bunch of maiden specials, this may be a little bit weaker bunch than normally we would see. And then Charlie Whiskey in the third spot. Obviously, you draw a line through the last race. 12-1. I'm really curious if we'll get that because the horse last time lost the rider. So it's a, void kind of a consideration. And the 2 races before that were okay, was claimed 2 races back and moved into the barn of Chris Hartman. Chris Hartman's having a very good meet down there. So again, I think bettors are smart enough to go back and look at the first couple of races and draw a line through the last one. And that 12-1 looks a little bit generous. Now, given that, I think Briartown at 3-1 on the morning line, I think that one's races will get that one to go a little lower. And Charlie Whiskey is going to come lower from the 12-1, as I say. But I still think you'll get a little bit of value because I do think Briartown will take some action, and probably deservedly so. But I have it at the bottom of my mix. In the second at Oaklawn, 5, 8, 4, and 3.
On to the third. Claimers in for 20,000, also racing 6.
6, 5, 3, and 8. The number 6 Espionage on top. Just in good form. A couple of okay second place finishes, bookending a nice win. All down at Oaklawn, was claimed 3 starts back and subsequently went in a couple of starter allowances. And as I say, those are both good efforts. Now drops in for a tag. So off the claim, they put some nice money in the bank. And I think now they're just being clever. As the meet ends, you want to take the horse and we'll take a win and walk away. So I'll put Espionage on top. Alex's Strike in the second spot. Nice win 2 back, was claimed out of that. Also got a little ambitious off the claim and went into a starter allowance. This one didn't perform quite as well there, though. Well, it was an okay race, but probably more properly spotted back down in this claimer. And then much better going out for owner-trainer Steve Asmussen on a class drop. And again, as we get to the end of the meet, I think off the seasonal debut, the owner is getting a little bit realistic here. Now, in that season opener, there was a little trouble that might make this horse even better than you would anticipate off of that effort. And then with the class relief you added on, this may be the one to beat. 6-1 on the morning line. And if you get that, take an extra look at the Asmussen runner. In the third at Oaklawn, 6, 5, 3, and 8.
On to the fourth race. We have Fillies and Mares maiden claimers in for attack for 30, racing 6.
6, 7, 1, and 5. I'll put True Emotion on top. Was claimed 2 starts back off a pretty good effort. Then they moved up the claiming ladder, and now they're kind of getting back down, or maybe splitting the difference a little bit. Although I would say they're getting closer to the claim price 2 back where the horse ran well. So I think class-wise, this horse is just moving to more of what is likely to be the comfort zone price-wise. Similar situation with I'm Beth Dutton. Plenty of early speed, 2 starts back, led most of the way and wound up second. Moved up the ladder last time and ran third. Now, again, kind of splits the difference, and I think should be in a very good spot. And I think that speed will be very potent today. Wreaking Havoc in the third position off a nice try last time. Claimed out of that. Trainer's okay off the claim. We will see. Claimed away from Marshall Graham, 10 Strike Racing. They play the claiming game very cleverly. We will see what happens claiming from them here. But again, in the form, the most recent form, have to put that one in the mix. And if you go down the page a little bit, there are even better races that if we get back to could make this one very dangerous. In the fourth, 6, 7, 1, and 5.
On to the fifth, staying at the 6 furlong popular distance. Claimers in for 12-5. Non-winners to 2 lifetime.
6, 1, 2, and 11. I'll put Quick to Blame on top. comes in off a couple of nice tries, most recently a second two back by just about 4 lengths. That was a voided claim situation, and you're always a little bit leery there, given, you don't quite know what might have transpired, but they came back and ran very well. So I think you can kind of disregard the void as being something of a negative, given what we saw last time. It's Robertina Diodoro, Christian Torres, horses in good form, quick to blame on top. El Mongo in the second slot, nice front end win last time to break the maiden. That was first off the claim for Karl Broberg, so lived up to what you would expect with a Broberg runner off the claim, and I think probably is going to be an okay fit at this next level up against limited winners. And then Suitable for owner-trainer Steve Asmussen, third start of the season, and drops way down the claiming ladder. So again, another one, we're getting to the end of the season. You would have to think this horse is live in here again, in that if you want to take the horse, that's just one we're not going to have to ship, and we're willing to play around. And again, owner-trainer Steve Asmussen, very easy to get an agreement here on the drop between the owner and the trainer. In the fifth, I have it 6-1, 2, and 11.
On to the sixth race, State Breds. Maiden claimers in for 16, cashing 5.5.
10, 8, 2, and 3. Steve Asmussen, owner Steve Asmussen again, with Keith Asmussen on board. Takes a little drop down the claiming ladder. There was just enough there. I don't think anything jumps out at me in this field. These state-bred maiden races down there in Arkansas are kind of dartboard races, but this one has shown a little bit of positional early speed. The numbers are okay. The better numbers probably have an edge on most in here. But again, these kind of races, it's just who's going to come out and feel it this afternoon. I'll tilt towards Impoverished, but this is also the kind of race where you can go with a fresh face. Mudman, by just a coincidence. Kind of an interesting sire on the Arkansas bred side of things. So amongst the fresh faces, I'll go with the Ron Maquette runner, Francisco Arrieta on board. He's riding very well at the meet. So enough there to think maybe we can toss in that firster. Colonel Barton comes in good form, having run nicely in a similar event last time. And Old Toby, another one. Laurie's Rocket is an interesting sire of precocious runners down there amongst Arkansas breds. So in the sixth at Oaklawn, 10, 8, 2, and 3.
On to the seventh race, Phillies and Merrow starter allowance going 6.
5, 1, 9, and 2. I'm going to put Dream Streak on top. Has won 2 of the last 3. They bookend a third place finish. Was claimed 2 back from Steve Asmussen, but off the claim, they went into a very similar starter allowance and won with a nice gutsy performance. So this is the kind where I think, why not right back? I think off of a win against Similar has the potential and the opportunity to maybe string a couple together. Legendary Gift in the second spot, off the claim for Karl Broberg. End Zone Athletics is essentially his nom de plume. So, claimed for his ownership situation. And obviously, Karl Broberg, very good off the claim, having a pretty good meet down there. And this one coming in very good form, having won the last 2. Logical player as well. And then Betcha in the third spot. Hasn't been seen since a nice win in February, claimed out of that race, and now comes back for Chris Hartman. Off the claim, this is a little bit of a concerning layoff of over a couple months. And you would think, you're dipping in at 8,000 to claim. You're not going to wait till the end of the meet to come back. But that said, they come back at the starter allowance level. So it's not like they're floating the horse out there for a tag. There's a little bit of confidence shown here. And Hartman, very good at this meet and very good off the claim. I have the 7th at Oaklawn, 5, 1, 9, and 2.
On to the 8th, a 100-grander entry-level allowance race at 6 furlongs for 4-year-olds and up.
8, 2, 9, and 10 under the gun. Steve Asmussen for Winchell Thoroughbreds this time, but Keith Asmussen on board. Nice win down at Sam Houston last time. And as I said, trainers having a very good last couple of weeks down at Oaklawn. We'll see if this one can add to it. 6-1 on the morning line. I think this horse is a good match with this group. And again, the way Asmussen has been going the past, 10 days or so. Could be very intriguing in here. Again, maybe a little bit of a price. Tape to tape in the second slot. Last seen up at Hawthorne for Larry Ravelli. I thought that was interesting. I mean, we're here at the end of the – first of all, let's see if the horse runs. That to me is going to be a big question mark. This has the potential to, when you check the scratches, to be up there as a scratch. But if the horse does show up here, worked on the 14th at Hawthorne, the last work showing, and Hawthorne's going. They're underway. This meets ending. So that if they elect to ship this one down, I just find that all very intriguing. Christian Torres on board. This horse has won 4 of the last 5 starts. Tape to tape, intriguing. Favorite Outlaw, the 9-5 favorite, also going out for Chris Hartman, who I mentioned in earlier races, having a very good meet. This one comes in very good form with a couple of second place finishes, so should be competitive as well. Kind of a fun race, but for me, I have it 8, 2, 9, and 10.
Another area, Chicago with, out Arlington and how this all matriculates. On to the 9th race. Feature this afternoon for 4-year-olds and up, fillies and mares going a mile.
4, 7, 5, and 6. With a lovely ride on top. Robertina Diodoro runner. Some nice company lines there, particularly last time. Ran 6, but had a lot of early punch before getting past late by Secret Oath, Clairiere, Interstate Daydream in the Azeri. This is a little bit of an easier bunch, so I'll go with Lovely Ride on top. Tap Dance Fever comes up from Tampa off a nice win last time. Was racing for Gerald Bennett, now going for Brett Calhoun. I kind of wonder, this is one of those situations, though, where I wonder if Gerald Bennett maybe just isn't licensed in Arkansas and so gets shipped into a barn of a trainer who is. I don't know whether this would really qualify as a major trainer change, but has been working up at Keeneland in the most recent couple of starts. So another one a little bit interesting in here. And gunning in the 3rd spot for Ken McPeak, coming off a couple of wins most recently. And Ken McPeak's been interesting to me the past couple of weeks, particularly over at Keeneland. But I think this one is a player in here in the 3rd start back on the season and having put a couple of wins in already. In the 9th at Oaklawn, the Dig a Diamond, 4, 7, 5, and 6.
On to the 10th, a familiar stakes race through the years at Oaklawn Park. The Bachelor going 6.
4, 3, 7, and 1. Rivet on top. 4, Steve Asmussen and the Hellenbrats. Comes in off a couple of nice wins. Tried a stakes race earlier in the career. Debuted at Keeneland in April and ran 2nd. And then went in the Kentucky Juvenile at Churchill Downs and ran 3rd. That kind of wound up the 2-year-old season. Came back this year and ran 6th in the February debut, but since then has put in a couple of wins. Now steps into stakes company. But it seems like off the past couple is going to be ready for this move. Mo Strike going out for Brad Cox, broke the maiden in June last year, and then came up and won the Sanford. Tried the Hopeful, but ran 4th behind Forte. Hasn't been seen since. This is the seasonal debut for a horse that clearly showed some talent for high-profile connections of Brad Cox. And then Elise McCracken in the 3rd spot, coming up from Sam Houston off a seasonal debut that seemed to indicate this horse is going to be an interesting little 3-year-old going forward. In the Oaklawn 10th, the Bachelor, 4, 3, 7, and 1.
And I suspect on a Wednesday night at the Kentucky Derby seminar, Forte will come up. On to the 11th. Optional claimers in for 20, non-winners of 1 other than, also going the 1 mile distance.
10, 2, 4, and 6, 50-cent dollars on top. String of 3rd place finishes is a little concerning. You're concerned when they can't get up and run 2nd and they're stuck in the bridesmaid. This one's in the bridal party the last few starts. But you go a little further back, had 3 straight wins. So the last few probably are more situational. So I'll go 50-cent dollars on top. Hearn in the 2nd slot. Nice race 2 back down at Sam Houston. Came up and tried Allowance Company here and was not quite as good. I think in this field, going to be a better fit. And then Lord Dragon at 12-1. Carl Broberg, Christian Torres off the claim. Just on those factors, the connections and off the claim stats and whatnot, looks interesting if that 12-1 morning line holds up. 11th and final at Oaklawn, 10, 2, 4, and 6.
That wraps up the look at Oaklawn Park. Should be running in May. What a beautiful sound that is. I looked it up. Fozzie Bear, I finally had to connect all the dots. Started his career 7 for 7. I have to presume he was the 2-year-old champion, 1986. Finished his career 1 for 7. But the tie-in here, the Attard family. Kevin Attard was very young, loved the Muppet guy, got him into racing. Let's see, 36 years later, he's training a Queen's Plate winner, the filly. So, Fozzie Bear, they made a change to Gold Revenue. Gold Revenue, one of the rare...
named Horse of the Year, right? A
Who?
couple weeks ago. The Queen's Plate winner last year.
Moyer? I would suspect so. I mean, I don't
and
follow.
Mark Cassie got the... Mark Cassie was named
37th consecutive. I mean, how many does he have?
I was going to say
15?
14.
I
thought the article I read said 14.
Well, he's not done. He's not finished.
Man.
I mean, you talk about a closed shop. Now, I always wondered, like, it's so dominant Woodbine, compared to all the rest of the country combined. Although I told you they have, is it Centennial someplace? They have, there are no silks. They just run in the saddlecloth thing, which I have to tell you, at first, as obviously a veteran of watching it, I thought it was dopey. But then I was thinking, you know what? For marketing and people that go to the track and everything, this might be the smartest ideas ever. For the average fan. It's always about uniforms, except in horse racing.
On the flip side, one of the things they have to change, and they do it down at Keeneland, big stakes races, they go back to the other one, single color saddlecloth.
Is it them and Oaklawn were like the last ones holding out for their big races? Mm-hmm. You want to talk to someone, just say, what's up with that? Like, it's a mistake. Yeah. I said, it's just for the customers. Who do you have at the top of the hour?
We will be joined by Joe Christopher, opening day, Churchill Downs. Joe, of course, the paddock commentator at Churchill. We haven't talked to him since Fairgrounds. Where
can't wait to see the paddock because they got the work done.
We'll talk a little bit about that. I pulled up some pictures from the web from the internet yesterday. So he'll talk the meet and whatnot, get some ideas for today, but we'll also get some Derby thoughts from Joe. And then Jeremy Plonk, Countdown to the Crown.
Not so much counting left.
Excited to see what he's thinking as we head to the Derby.
Well, I'm intrigued, as I am every year. It's just, to me, it's a great betting race. I'll wait for the PPs to come out, see if anybody gets the bad post position, 20 or 1 or however that works out. It's going to be intriguing. I guess I've been fortunate that I'm not 10 years older or 20 years older, because I would have probably been swimming upstream against the Secretariats and Seattle Sioux and everything. But I rarely ever find it dominant. Like, I don't seem to, it's my whole nature is to not like the favorite, but it's right. It's just going to be Forte and the rest, right?
I'm
on Twitter, so I hear other horses.
I am very intrigued to see. I said it on Bick's radio show a couple weeks ago, and he pooped. He said, no way.
No way what?
The 2 triple-digit buyers, I want to see where – I thought Practical Joke might wind up to be the favorite when they go up, because Forte's numbers are going in the wrong direction. They readjusted after they readjusted the time. They readjusted him down. And bettors these days look so much at the buyers. He comes in with 2 triple-digit buyers. I just wonder what –
there is
and Bick's thing was probably the same thing you and most people are thinking. Yachtine versus Pletcher and Rapoli and whatnot, the bettors are, but I'm just intrigued to see what Practical Joke goes off that.
I don't suspect either of those two will be my top pick, but we will see on Wednesday.
Disarm's getting a little buzz. He may be interesting at a price. He got a little buzz working out this week,
which will continue to add buzz to the Lexington.
Speaking of points, he just snuck in.
Well, that's the whole purpose of that race, right? Yeah. I think before they changed it, that was Charismatics. Leap forward.
That sounds right.
Lucas was going anyways if he could anytime, but he broke forward after running 2 claiming races at Santa Anita. But he stays. I go, ladies and gentlemen. It's Derby week. Enjoy your Saturday.
You're watching OTB TV. a service of Capital Off Track Betting.